Hello everyone, Mr. Lipchick here, and the topic for our lesson is the origins of geography. Geography is defined as the science that studies the surface of the earth, its human population, and the effects that each has on the other. Geography may have started with early peoples who began to explore the earth, such as the Chinese, Egyptians, Babylonians, who are responsible for the earliest map dating back to 600 BC, the Greeks. The Greeks, due to their rational and logical outlook, were interested in the physical characteristics of the earth as well, and knew that the earth was circular. Anaximander was a Greek philosopher who is believed to be the first to draw a world map, although it was inaccurate. This word is a mouthful here. Eratosthenes is considered to be the father of geography, another Greek philosopher. He was the head librarian at the Library of Alexandria in Egypt, which was eventually burned, and to the great horror of many scholars throughout the world. He combined the words ge, which is Greek for earth, with graph, which means to describe, to coin the word geography, which means to describe the earth. Eratosthenes believed developed the science of geography, and he was the first to calculate the circumference of the earth, which is the distance around it. He created a grid system dividing the world into sections using lines running north and south and east and west. Ptolemy. Ptolemy was a Greek-Egyptian geographer, astronomer, and mathematician. He believed that a two-dimensional map was inadequate to represent the Earth, which he believed to be a globe. Ptolemy's map included Europe, Africa, and Asia, and included grid lines that were equal distances apart. Eratosthenes' grid lines were uneven. Ptolemy also included topography in his maps. To the right, you see an example of topography. Topography is the graphic representation of surface features of a place or region in a map, indicating their relative positions and illustrations. Here to the right, you see an illustration of hilltops, spurs, valleys, and so forth. Okay, basically showing the surface of the land in detail, what it actually looks like in terms of its height and what is there. Early peoples believed the locations of the planets to be random and unpredictable. Ptolemy argued that planets moved through epicycles or orbits that determined their paths. Radical new idea, which holds true today. The early Middle Ages. After the fall of the Roman Empire in the West, scientific thought declined as people relied on church dogma and were not permitted to question them. The Arab world, however, continued to explore and learn about geography. Eventually, many of the ancient European ideas about geography would be reintroduced by the Arabs to Europe as their empire spread into Spain. Some Arab innovations. The Arabs became interested in geography as they had to be able to locate the direction of Mecca in order to pray 5 times a day. And the Arabs invented the astrolabe, which is a device that helped sailors use the position of the stars and the planets to determine their location at sea. Chinese contributions. Geographic isolation led the Chinese to believe that they were at the center of the world, surrounded by inferior societies. The Mandarin name for China is Zhuangguo, which means Middle Kingdom. The early Chinese believed that the king was responsible for maintaining harmony in nature, making the understanding of geography a practical concern. Traditional Chinese philosophy encouraged the study in nature study of nature and geography. And the Chinese first used the compass to determine north from south. And they adapted the magnetic compass for navigation. This enabled them to trade and expand their empire. Their understanding of geography enabled the Chinese to expand and unite their empire. They developed common Chinese cultural characteristics. And they developed the Silk Road trade route, which provided them a way to market their goods. Chinese maps date as early as 200 BCE. The Yugong section of the book Shuging describes the 9 Chinese provinces and the crops and trades of their inhabitants. And after 100 CE, most Chinese historical documents included a geographical chapter. China periodically explored the Pacific and Indian Oceans. An explorer named Zheng He traveled to these regions between 1405 and 1433. Some scholars believe that the Chinese actually made it as far as the California coast, and they have found stone anchors, which resemble the stone anchors used by the ancient Chinese. Chinese explorations came to an abrupt end, however, when the imperial court issued a decree forbidding travel and interaction with other countries. This is an example of China's increasing xenophobia at the time. Xenophobia is fear, distrust, and contempt for foreign persons and things. Key thing to remember about xenophobia is that it is usually not based on fact, just irrational fear and misunderstanding. Western exploration. As China drew itself inward, Western nations began to increasingly explore. Foreign nations competed by hiring map makers and explorers to acquire foreign trade. Explorers sought to find a passage that would quickly take them to China and the East Indies without going all the way around Africa or all the way through Asia. That concludes our discussion on the origins of geography. I appreciate your attendance, and I look forward to seeing you in the live lesson soon. Have a nice day.